Hi, Jennifer.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
I'm going to learn all this good stuff from all of you. I'm
Oh my
excited.
goodness. No pressure.
We're always ready to.
Oh,
No, let's not.
got it. Thank you.
Agreed.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Okay, so I think what will happen, guys, is if you go to the top and you hit speaker view, then whoever's speaking will come up and you'll actually be able to see them first and foremost. And then you should be able to see at the top when people chime in and speak too. And so, yeah, I am super pumped. I really was excited to do this and have four awesome agents who actually, let me pull up my little questions really fast, who've had experienced a lot of growth. And so I want to, and we did both offices. So let me run through. So we have Jennifer Courtright. Jennifer, you can wave so they can see you. Jennifer's business is up 75.8%. Which is awesome and amazing. We have Bridget. Are you on, Bridget Imhoff? Yep, Bridget's on. Hello, Bridget. Bridget is up 111%, which is fabulous. We have, and they're both from Columbus, from Consultant's Office, and then from the Richmond office in Kentucky, we have Tiffany Casey. Tiffany is up 102%, and then we have Ross Cummins in his Kentucky blue shirt, up 198%, which is awesome. So I think I just want to honor the fact that it's when your business is up in the middle of a pandemic, you're doing something right. And sometimes we don't even know what we necessarily do that's right. However, I heard an Andy Stanley quote this week that I really loved. And he said, when you don't know why things are working when they're going really well, you won't know how to fix them when they're not. And so I think that it's important for us to be able to hear, one, what's working really well for these agents and how their business is up. And so I've prepared a list of questions and we'll just kind of go down the line. If that's okay, I'll just call on you guys. And Bridget, I love those shelves in the background. I think I told you that last time. Uh-oh, you're muted. Shoot. I'm gonna have to get that color from you again. Wait, are you muted?
Oh, there I go.
There you go.
That's peppercorn.
Oh, peppercorn. She told me that last time. Ross, you should write that down too. I know you'll probably
I have in my background too.
Today.
Yeah.
It looks so good. I love it. Okay, so
they were
first,
the ugly brown, so didn't like it.
it looks great. Okay, first let's start with just you guys just introducing yourself and then saying how long you've been in the business. And Bridget, we'll just start with you since you were there first.
I am Bridget M. Huff. I came to Keller Williams about 2 years ago. I was licensed in 2013. So my first transaction actually didn't close until 2014, and I almost left real estate altogether. That's a whole other talk show. So yeah, I've been in the business technically since 2013.
I think we've all been there at some point.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Ross, you can go next.
Oh, don't put me on. I've been in the business since I was 18 years old. I actually took the classes in high school, passed my real estate test on my birthday after having to wait a whole year to even take the test. So literally as long as physically possible.
I think Ross was officially the youngest agent that I've ever had to get in the business when I've
I called her from the parking lot and I was like, what do I do now?
And now look at you, man, what a crazy couple of years. That's for sure.
That's true.
I forgot to ask, sorry, Bridget, will you share, do you happen to know, and if not, I can pull this up, but do you know about what volume you've done year to date?
Yeah, hold on a minute. I just added it up. I think I'm at, wait, my goal, I switched my goal up after I saw my numbers. I think I'm at like 7.4.
Okay, cool. Yep, I knew you were somewhere around there. Ross, do you know?
Right at 11 this year.
Okay, awesome. Great job. Awesome. Okay, let's go to Jennifer next.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Courtright. I'm in the Dublin office. I'm actually spent the first 2 years of my life in Richmond and raised in Lexington, but now I'm in Dublin. I've been licensed.
Tell them that. What a great coincidence.
Yeah. I've been licensed for almost 9 years now. I spent the first, almost 5 years, I would say, working at another job. So I didn't do this full time until about 4.5 years ago.
Awesome. Okay.
I have no idea what my volume is. I'm sorry,
Okay,
I did not look.
we'll pull it up. That's totally fine. I'll look it up so we can just tell. Okay, Tiffany, do you want to go next?
Yep, I actually just hit the 3-year mark last week, and I joined Keller Williams. They just came to Madison County about a month before I got my license, I believe, or a couple months. So I've been with Keller Williams the whole time. And I think, I don't know for sure, around 4.2 or 3 million this year so far.
Yep, perfect. Yeah, you've had a great year, really great year. I know, super awesome. Okay, guys, so let's start with the first question. And we can just kind of popcorn it around, and whoever wants to go for. Would you want me to put you in an order, or does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
Okay, all right, I'll just call on you. Okay, so if you could pick like the top 2 to 3 things that you feel like you've done differently this year that have really, really had you experience this high growth that you've had, what would those 2 to 3 things be? And
I'll go first.
Jennifer, do you want to go first? Yeah. Perfect.
So I would say, honestly, I have not done anything that's groundbreaking, earth shattering. For me, it was just getting back to the basics of things that we know we're supposed to be doing, but we don't always necessarily make time to do. For me, the first thing would be mailers. Just simply sending out just sold mailers for every listing, reminding people that I'm out there working, that I'm selling in their area. We start to assume people just know who we are and know what we're doing, but I would say never assume. Even if people know your name, they don't necessarily know your successes. So for me, just making it a habit that I am sending out those mailers every closing. Everybody knows this just sold in your area. And then, and even if those, people aren't thinking of selling, they're going to remember your name. To refer you to people that they know that are.
What are you using to send those out? Like what platform, or what are you, how are you printing them?
I have the title company send them out for me.
Okay.
Yeah. And then along those same lines, I would say just maintaining the social media presence. Before I was just kind of, when I had a chance to do it, as opposed to making it a habit. So scheduling more posts, getting your name out there, I would say would be, along the same lines of the mailers, just keeping your name fresh in front of people. And then for me, the other thing would be that I'm a big believer in knowledge is power, and that we should never stop improving ourselves. In the past, for me, I'm a mom, I'm home with my kids, and so I didn't make it a priority to attend classes, trainings, listening to people who know more than me. It was just kind of doing the minimum that I needed to do to get by. So this year, I'm making it a point to attend classes, to attend trainings, so that I can learn from other people. And that just doesn't just help you grow as an individual, of course, but then as you're growing yourself, that translates into your business and motivated you. We're a product of our environment. So surrounding ourselves with successful people and people that are like-minded and have goals, I think is super important for me, especially to have that motivation. You get off a call, okay, I'm going to go do that. I'm going to go do this. They had a great idea. Let me implement that right now. And, if you're not surrounding yourself with people that have similar goals and are trying to achieve things like you are, then I don't think you can be as successful as, you could be. So.
Yeah, I was really hoping one or all 4 of you would say that, because I know all 4 of you have plugged into more training. And I mean, Ross, I think you came to every single thing that we had for when you were very first getting. Now you're a little busier, but you still make time to come when you, and to me, that's so important. And I just think I always go back to hearing Gary say, you never want to be the smartest person in the room. And I think we have all the excuses in the world why we can't attend trainings. And even I could take something 10 times. And even if I took it again tomorrow, I'm going to pick up something that I didn't pick up the other 10 times, because either I'm in a different place, or it was said a different way, or something like that. And so I think that is really important. A couple quick questions. Jennifer, are you, do you do your own social media, or do you have someone do it yourself?
I do. Right now, I do my own. I'm working towards, I'm hoping that I'll have somebody else that'll be doing it soon, but right now it's just myself. So I'm trying to set aside time where I'm scheduling, the post for the week. so that it's a point that it's done.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
And
Okay.
then just real quick too, to go back to the whole knowledge is power thing and you talking about making the time, even if you don't have time to attend, the classes that are offered, there's YouTube channels, there's podcasts, there's everything that you can do that if you're out driving or, anything that you can just listen to a podcast of somebody who's way more successful than you are and, just that motivation. And then of course, Dana's Wednesday morning mindset is super helpful too.
Thank you for always being on, by the way.
Yes, I love it.
I get to a point where I forget, like I just drove the whole way to Charleston and it's 7-hour drive and I never listened to music the whole way. And I didn't even realize it until I got here because I had so many podcasts I wanted to catch up on. So once you kind of start getting in that, then you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much more to learn. Yeah, so I love that. Okay, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Ross, do you want to go next?
I can. Do you want to say the question?
Yes. What would be the 2 to 3 things you would attribute to your business up 200% this year over last year?
So I will kind of tag in where Jen basically just left off. Number one, I mean, obviously you got to have the growth mindset. Like that's a number one thing that I feel like has always been a big part of my business is just always learning from the best, trying to be the best, just always realizing that there's room for improvement. But also at the same time, for me, I did that for years. Like I spent my first 4 years, eat, sleep, breathe, real estate, investing, fixing, flipping, building. Like I was just a sponge, soaking it all up, that like I love it. But I realized that there was a pattern in my business was just that like I was spending so much time learning that I wasn't really spending as much time doing. And it was really hard for me to get to the point where I could I don't always feel like doing. Like, I mean, there's days when I wake up and I don't want to do it. I don't want to make my calls. I don't want to get out of bed at 5 a.m. Like, I mean, there's just days where I'm like, screw it. I don't want to do it, but like, I know how to do it and I've learned how to do it from the best of the best. So the biggest thing that I kind of have switched around in the past year for me is perspective. My perspective on accountability. Like for me, I'll let myself down every day of the week. Like, I mean, hands down, I can make those calls tomorrow. I can go to the gym tomorrow. I can eat that cookie, whatever. I'll let myself down every day of the week. But having accountability for me was the number one thing where I was like, it clicked. And it honestly didn't really register to me that it clicked immediately. But I mean, like basically accountability towards others is what motivates me. You know what I mean? Like I haven't.
So will you touch on how you made a hire this year?
I haven't bought into the whole coaching thing yet. And one day I probably will. I know.
Greg is about to fall out of his chair that you just said that, but okay.
It'll be all right. We'll figure it out. But accountability for me is just constantly reminding myself that my people count on me every day. It is so easy for me to get my butt out of bed knowing that Sarah is counting on me to pay her bills. Alex is counting on me to send him another loan so he can be a top producer in Fairway. Like my builders are counting on me to send them as many custom builds as I can. And once I change that perspective, it opens up a door to where I'll jump out of bed and I'm like, screw it. I don't even care about me. I'm in this for them. And that accountability for me is just the ultimate motivation to get up, go the extra mile. But it also makes it so much easier to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just me. I mean, that's not going to be the same for everybody. But for so long, I was focused on, let me help everybody. Let me be the realtor for everybody. I can sell you anything in Kentucky. You want to see something in Louisville? Great. But like, I've gotten really good this year about, these are my people. These are the people that I serve because they take care of me. They trust me. So I owe it to them, basically.
Yeah.
that was kind of a big game changer for me this past year.
I think
My
that's a
job
great,
to perform for them.
yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it too, for sure. Yep, absolutely. Okay, Tiffany, do you want to go next? And then we'll go to
Yeah.
Bridget.
So for me, pretty much the same thing of them trainings and all of that definitely helps motivate you and get things done. But for last year in October, I did Bold for the first time. And I think that changed my life, honestly, personal and obviously in real estate. It just changed my whole mindset. And for me, the mindset has changed everything for my business. And personal life as well, but that was huge for me, was the Bold last October. And they had us like write down goals, and it's basically, they tell you it's a numbers game, so you can make as much money as you want to make. You just need to do this, this, and this. So then I'm
And
like,
it's so
oh,
cheap this year, I think, because it's digital, right? We're doing digital again, and I
Mhm.
believe does anybody know? I should know this. I think it's like $99 or
I think it was this year. Yeah. Last year in October, I was able to do it in person. I don't remember. It was like $800. But that, I really think that changed my life. Just personal, different aspects, the whole mindset thing. And then another thing for me, last year, I quit my full-time job. And for me, kind of like Ross, it was kind of my motivation. If this is my only job, I have to make it happen. Kind of like Ross was saying, for his admin and different people. He
Yep.
now knows he has to make it happen. So for me, I knew I had to, I couldn't just lay back. I had to work and make it
that
happen.
little added pressure.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. Awesome. Bridget, what about you?
You know, one of the biggest things for me, which I went to family reunion this year, which was the first, and I joined ALC.
Yep.
And for me, being able to connect with some amazing people, it kind of raised the bar for me. And then another thing, I'm with everybody else about connecting with education. And I come from a nursing background, so I'm used to having to go to classes all day long all my life. But I think it just helps you grow. And I just recently did mega camp. And the coolest thing, we talked about this, the coolest thing right now, I guess one of the bright side of the pandemic has given us, there are so many ways that we can connect without having to get on a plane or, get in a car, whatever. And doing mega camp was so good because you could there were so many different trainings you could plug into where normally you would be at the session you were at. But yeah, so for me, just looking back, that I did differently, truly the ALC did a lot for me. And, the other thing I was going to say, I did make my first hire, my part-time hire. And she really got command put together for me so that I could really, really dive into my database. And that's what I spent a lot. I really focused on my database because I think we've all been there when we find out that when we're searching the MLS and all of a sudden we see a past client has listed with somebody else and we have nobody to blame but ourselves.
The worst. You just want to.
Oh, it's awful, awful. And by really passing that along to somebody that can take the time and just get my information in and do my social media posts, I can make the phone calls to them. Mm-hmm. And, that was another thing that I was able to do is really get in touch with people so that they don't call somebody else, which sometimes they do. So.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. Which I did just pull up, and Jennifer, you are right around 4.5 million this year too, maybe a little bit higher, closer to 5 probably. You and Tiffany were very, very, very close. So y'all may need to be new accountability partners. Okay, so what about the next question? What advice would you give to an agent who's hit a ceiling and isn't experiencing growth? Maybe they've just stayed flat and they really want to push through. Whoever wants to go first can go first.
Where I'm first again. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Tiffany.
I was just going to say, I don't feel like I've really hit a ceiling yet, just because I'm new in the business. I've not had consistent years of the same number. But I would say surround yourself with people who are doing more and to set your goal really high. Linda McKissick says all the time, set your goal so big that it makes you want to pee your pants, and then you pee your pants and do it anyways or something. So this year I'd set my goal.
What does she say? That's the difference between fear and courage. Fear is setting a goal that makes you want to pee your pants, and courage is going on ahead and doing it with your pants wet.
Yes. So I think just setting high goals, and she says it'll pull you through your smaller goals. So if you just want to do 1 more million next year, maybe say, I want to do 5 more million next year, and then you'll for sure do the extra million, and then hopefully all the way up to the extra 5 million.
Yeah, great advice. Love it. Jennifer?
I would say, just to kind of reiterate what I said before, is getting back to the basics. Follow up with your database. Our databases are gold mines. You know, if we work them right, and like Bridget said, you know, don't let those people slip through the cracks. Make sure you're always reminding people that you're a realtor through social media, mailers. You know, I know you like the handwritten cards, Dana, and I think that's such a good idea. You know, just go through your database and send people a handwritten note with your card in them, just saying you're checking in on them. You know, it doesn't have to be real estate related when you're contacting them. Even, you know, just sending a small little gift, like a cookie basket or something, saying you're thinking of them. Another great point of contact right now is our interest rates. You know, call people that you haven't talked to in 3 years. You know, maybe they purchased more than 3 years ago, and they don't realize, like, hey, you can move up and have a lot less of a payment than you think because our interest rates, you know, are so low. And that's a good email blast to send out, or phone call, or handwritten note, you know, anything like that. And then lastly, another piece of advice would be, and I could talk about this all day, is find a farm. I built my entire business around a farm.
Okay, wait, hear that for
yes.
your unique value prop.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I wanted you to talk about the farming.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So hold on. We'll come back to that because I feel like that is you may have had another answer, but you can share that too. But I feel like that's a big part of your unique value prop.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Bridget or Ross, advice that you would give to somebody who's hit a ceiling?
I can go. I was thinking about this because I think what I would ask them is, what are you afraid of? Because whatever you're afraid of is most likely that obstacle keeping you from whatever your goal is. Mm-hmm. And my journey isn't their journey, but I might be able to help them on theirs, if that makes sense. And surround you, absolutely. I think everybody's already said this, surround yourself around successful people. Back in my day, I played tennis, and it's like the rule of 3. 30% of the time you want to be surrounding yourself around people better than you, 30% of the time people at your level, your peers, and 30% where you may be able to mentor. And it's funny how your mindset will shift when you're helping others. You might, you know, that can kind of help propel you forward. Yeah. And same thing, follow the leaders, man. You know what? That's one great thing about ALC. I feel like I'm amongst royalty sometimes because I'm looking at these people like even last month when I had that great month, I know my numbers, I don't compare them to anybody else. And I called Angie Ulanake, I'm like, this must be what it feels like to be you every month. So it's just kind of one of those things where, you know, if people are at a ceiling, what is it that they're, are they willing to maybe take a step forward and be a little fearful? Because, you know, pee your pants, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Good advice. Great advice. Ask them what they're afraid of. Totally. And then surrounding. Okay, Ross, anything you'd add to that before we go to the next question?
I'm a nerd and I like to dig deep. I can ramble and rant about strategies and stuff like that all day long, but the most important thing for me is psychology. If your psychology isn't right, you're going to keep hitting that ceiling and you're never going to bust through it. And that's why Bold has been such a game changer for so many people, is just because, like, if you're hitting a ceiling, find a better why. Mm-hmm. Why are you doing what you're doing? Because everything else falls into place. Like, whether it's farming, knocking on doors, open houses, whatever, if you have a why behind that and you know why you're doing it, you're reminding yourself of why you're doing it is just second nature. I mean, like, it just falls into place as soon as you know why you're doing it. I put on here, it won't always be rainbows and sunshines, because that was one of the things that I always thought was, as soon as I find my why, I'm golden, you know, I'm good. But, like, no, it's like bathing. Like, you have to do it daily. Remind yourself daily. Sure. Otherwise, it just kind of goes to the wayside. It starts to kind of slip through the cracks, and then 6 months goes by, and you're like, why am I even doing this? I hate these clients. This is stupid. Blah, like, it's not worth it. But, like my why, well, recently, like, just to put it into real life context, is I had this goal for the past like 3 or 4 years. I'm going to make $250,000 this year. I'm going to make $250,000 this year. Like, I hype myself up about it so much because I, just like everyone else had touched on, set your goals up here. That way you can get this down here, you know, and I was like 250, 250, 250, like pumped about it, you know, like that was it. That was my goal. But I didn't have a why behind that. So it never happened. Like, I mean, I went 4 years straight. I mean, like, still making good money, but just enough to where I was hitting my level, and I hadn't busted through that level yet. And so it wasn't until, kind of to back up to my last point, was like the people for me. Like, I didn't think I could make $250,000 in a year until I hired Sarah on and brought her on board. And it wasn't her motivating me to do it or anything like that. Like, she didn't say anything about it. But in my hiring of her, I realized something that was super important to her: security. She wants security. She needs security. She needs consistency. I don't. I thrive off of this. She needs this. And in order for me to produce this, I had to find a way to give her that. And for me to give her that, essentially what we're doing and what we're working on in our business right now is we're subsidizing our income to where my salary and her salary are 100% paid for through rental properties. That way she has 100% consistency. So she never has to worry about real estate market doing this. I can worry about this, but all she has to worry about is my bills are paid, I'm covered, Ross has got my back. And that juices me on a completely different level. And just to be honest with you, that down payment's $225,000, and I'm supposed to close on it in about 2 weeks. So like that, just once I put the actual why behind it, it didn't matter that like that was my goal and all of that good stuff. I'm worried about her, and I'm going to make sure she gets what she needs.
Do you care to share how much money you were making the year that you got into real estate?
What do you mean?
Like before you were selling real estate?
$10 an hour, 15
Okay.
bucks an hour. Like, I mean,
that's just what I wanted you to share, because we really underestimate what can be done in 5 years.
oh,
And all of us do on no matter if you're making 50,000 this year or if you're making over $1 million this year, we still all underestimate what we can do in 5 years. And you are a great example of that.
And that, I try to remind myself of that all the time, because sometimes I just want to throw my phone through the wall when it's rang 6 times in a row before I could get off the other call. But like, legitimately 5 years ago, I prayed for the business that we're in. Like, yeah. I prayed to have the amount of stuff going on that we do. And just, again, perspective. As soon as I make that change in my mind, it's like, heck yeah, who else can I add to my team that needs to hit that next ceiling in their business? That way they can live their life by design. Yeah. So like, perspective, 100%.
You know what? Also, you just made me think of something else. And if you guys have never heard the 4 C's that Linda McKissick teaches, it's actually from Dan Sullivan, her coach through strategic coaching. But almost every one of y'all have said something that relates to it. And the 4 C's are: number 1, it starts with a commitment. And you would think that this goes backwards, but really it does go this way, because you have to make like a big, hairy, scary, audacious commitment. And then after commitment, then you get the courage, because you've already made the commitment at that point. So from commitment, then you move to courage, and then you move to credentials, because then you made the commitment. So you have to do it. You made the commitment to hire somebody, or you made the commitment to quit your job, or you made the commitment, whatever it is. Then you get the courage because you don't have another choice. And then you start to get the credentials, meaning, okay, you're in it. So you're starting to actually do the actions and do the steps. And then after that, you get the confidence. And people think it's the opposite. They think that you have to start with the confidence. You have to have the confidence to do all these things. But really, all successful achievers and entrepreneurs and high drivers and all those words that we all throw out all the time, all of them made a big, huge, scary commitment, and then they developed the rest of the stuff. But there's actually a 5th C, and it's complacency. And so what Dan Sullivan coaches towards is, after you make the commitment, then you get the courage, then you have the credentials, and then you start to get the confidence. If you don't go make another commitment, you're just going to fall into complacency. And really, and we all get to that point. I mean, I know we could all say that we've been complacent at some point or another, but the great part is if you just keep going and making those big commitments, then you're constantly growing, and that's how you can see such great growth. That's honestly, that's probably one of the best lessons I've learned in the last 10 years. And one of you have touched on it in one way or another. And it's just funny how it relates to everybody. It comes back to every single thing. Okay, so what would you guys say, Jennifer, let's start with you on this one. What would you say is your specific, unique value proposition that sets you apart from competition? And whether that's for you, I think farming, and then anything else you wanted to talk about, but what's y'all's unique value proposition?
So this is actually kind of something I've been struggling with a little bit, is my identity and what that is lately. One thing we do is that my motto is buy, sell, give, because I'm really, an advocate for giving back to the community. So a portion of proceeds from every transaction goes to the nonprofit of my client's choice. And people really like that. I think that adds a lot of value too.
I love that. A lot of agents do that. And actually, you said something, let's see, what did you say earlier? Oh, you know what? I'm so proud of you, Jennifer, because when the pandemic hit and Gary Keller interviewed, actually, Greg will remember this because I believe he was on that mastermind, but when Gary Keller interviewed the top 100 agents in the company, 2 of like the main 3 or 4 things that he said to do were do direct mail. Do you remember that, Greg? Do direct mail because everybody's at home. So he said, like, cut your billboards because people are not out driving around. They're all at home and they're not getting mail. And if they are at home and they're not getting mail, they wish they were getting mail. And you touched on that. And then the other thing he did was he said, all of his top people, every one of them ties their business to a charity or to a give back. And he said it's one of the smartest things you can do for your business.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, people really do like that and they really do appreciate it. And then for me, the other thing is farming. I have pretty much created my whole business around a farm. I got in and I became, the neighborhood expert. People come to me in the neighborhood. They ask me, is there anything coming on?
The neighborhood that you live in, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Was anyone already farming that neighborhood?
No.
Okay.
Nope. So it was partially established. It hadn't been built out all the way yet. It has now. So I kind of just, from the very beginning, I got a couple signs in the yards when people were selling, there's a sweet spot where people have been there for 2 or 3 years and, they're starting to move. After that, starting with the mailers, saying, hey, I'm in your neighborhood. And then it just kind of grew where people were coming to me saying, hey, do you have any listings coming up in this neighborhood? People were always asking me questions. I do a lot of events in the neighborhood. We do a 4th of July parade for the kids. They decorate their bikes, parade around the neighborhood, and then I pass out goodie bags. Afterwards, we do like a fall fest. We bring a company in that does games and all of that. And, just everything always just says sponsored by me. You don't even really have to do much. Just go ahead.
Are you tracking how much business you get from your neighborhood?
I haven't been very good about it. I would say 98% of my business is the neighborhood.
Wow.
It's not just listings in the neighborhood. I've listed houses and been the dual agent because people just come to me, or I already have a pocket full of buyers for the neighborhood because people know that I'm the primary listing agent. And so I've become a dual agent a lot. And then I've actually had situations where I'm the dual agent and the people my buyers who are buying my listing also have a house to sell somewhere else.
Yep.
So it's really just been, putting your name out there in the neighborhood, and people now just know, hey, go ask Jen Courtright. She probably has something in the neighborhood coming up. And then, so everything's been repeat. Now I've had people who sold 5 years ago, bought somewhere else, and now they're listing that house. So I'm now, listing that and helping them buy something else again.
You may have already said this, and I apologize if I missed it, but do you have a closed Facebook group for just your neighborhood?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And do you allow other agents in there? Have you been following Nikki Klein, how she does those closed Facebook groups?
I haven't. Is she the one that did the moms page? Or just the neighborhood?
I don't remember. She might have. I don't remember. Do you, Bridget? I don't remember.
No, I know what you're talking about. I think she does a lot. I mean, Yeah, I can't remember if she did the
It might
mom.
have started as a mom's group and then it changed or something. I don't
Yeah.
remember. We have,
Yeah, it was
I
actually
actually
just-
send you that her video because you would really like that.
Yeah, I think I've seen her. I was just talking to Angie about her. Angie's on my team, about her today. I think she's the one who said she started a moms group for local moms and kind of didn't allow other realtors onto it. And it started out as just, hey, this is for moms. But then over time, it's kind of,
That's
she's
right.
the only one that can answer questions real estate
Yeah.
related. And
I think you're
Awesome.
right, Jen. I interviewed her for the region and we have her video, her interview on our YouTube. Actually, you know what? I actually have it pulled up. I'll post it in the chat.
yeah,
Because she
yeah, I
was
think
really, really
that's.
good. But yeah, okay, sorry. Keep going.
So unfortunately for my situation, there was already a neighborhood page established that everybody is on. There are one or two other realtors on there, but they are not active. They don't they don't say much or do much. So I guess that works to my benefit.
Probably because you shut them up.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah,
That's
so-
what I was getting ready to say.
So I think, the farming, like I said, I built pretty much my entire business on that. And now those clients have referred me to other people. So, and then now a whole bunch of them are repeat clients. So, it's been great. And I'm actually working on starting a farm in another neighborhood now too. It's a new build neighborhood. So just sending out postcards to that neighborhood saying, welcome to your new home, because they're building right now, it's all new builds, people moving in. So I'm just sending out a postcard saying, hey, welcome to your new house, congratulations, and that's it. And then once the neighborhood's complete, I'll probably do bring in food trucks, your neighborhood's finished, and just have my name on it and start from there. So
Yep. I love that.
yeah,
Awesome.
becoming the neighborhood expert, I think, is definitely, valuable. So.
Oh, totally agree. Yep. Totally agree. Bridget, you want to go next?
Oh, absolutely. I'm totally stealing some of your ideas, Jennifer. I love them.
That's why we're doing this. Hopefully
course.
lots of people are stealing ideas.
For sure. What I was going to say, this was the hardest question for me, because I think we as agents kind of get a little ahead of ourselves or a little full of ourselves. And so I was looking at this and I wrote down what I thought my value proposition and what sets me apart. And then I called a really good friend in title and asked her opinion. And then I asked Georgia, what do you think? The weird thing is all three of us came up with the same thing.
Oh, there you go. You know it's right then.
Because, and as I was reading this, people don't see the questions, but basically, are you good at open houses, new construction? I can have people hold my open houses. I can have people do my social media. I can, help, certain things I can have people do. So for me, I went back, and it, again, might be part of my nursing background, but I have this really weird thing about not letting deals die ever. So I'm like a dog with a bone, I guess. So when it comes to the transaction, I've been that agent that's the fourth one where the house couldn't get sold. You walk in there and they're interviewing 20 agents and then there's a pile of marketing materials. I'm usually that agent that gets it. And the way that I guess sell myself, if you will, is my commitment to not so much the transaction, but to the parties involved. Because we've all had those domino deals where they fall apart. And fortunately, in my experience over the past 7 years, I've only had two that didn't close. And one, the buyer walked away because of an FHA thing, because he didn't want to use FHA. I can't do anything. And then the other one was we couldn't find a house, and I ended up selling it later. So basically, when I asked this title person what she said about me, because again, I can think things, but it's others' perceptions of you. So I can think I'm the best at this, but until that they can give it back to me, do I know that it's true? So what she said was, I do my due diligence, even with all of the other parties. I keep contracts together when most others would fall apart and wash their hands from them. And perseverance. So that's kind of what she said. So that's the way I find that that's mine, because like I said, I can pass off my social media. I can pass off my media. I can pass that stuff off. And I do a lot of just listed, just solds. That's all part of my system, but I can't give anybody space in my head. And you don't want to be in here anyway, but.
I always tell people that too.
You don't want to know what's going on up here.
Well, I love that you said that because honestly, Bridget, another one of my favorite, I'm like a huge quote person. A lot of you know that about me, but I love, John Maxwell always says, pay attention to what other people say because other people see things in you that you don't see in yourself.
For sure.
And what you did was really cool because you went and asked people and you probably intuitively knew that, but you got the validation from hearing that. And honestly, I think that's a really unique value prop. I mean, because actually I just had a conversation last night with Sarah on my team. And she was like, you guys have all probably felt this at some point or another, unless you're brand new, but she was like, the last 6 deals I've had with a horrible agent. She's like, when can I get a break and get a good agent on the other deal? And she's like, I feel like all I'm doing is holding all these deals together and the other agents aren't even trying. They're like, I'll send you a release. Here, let me send you a release. Or they're not in there. And she was like, she said, honestly, the sad thing is, she's like, I feel like the buyers really want this house. And she's like, I think it's their agent. And I'm like, well, so honestly, there's something to be said for seriously being the agent that holds deals together because
1,000%.
Our clients deserve it. And they don't know.
And that's we could do a whole other talk on that and sharing because
we'll have to have you come back and do a dog with a bone, hold a deal together class part 2.
One of somebody on the ALC asked me, she's like, Bridget, can I ask you a question? Do you ever have deals that aren't crazy? I'm like, oh yeah, you just don't hear about them. No one wants to hear about the one that closed in 30 days with no appraisal issues, that was just all puppies and rainbows. Those are, so, but yeah, for sure. Sorry, didn't mean to take up that much time.
No, I love it. It's a really great perspective. Okay, Ross or Tiffany, your unique value prop. We're going to have to kind of hurry because I have one more question.
Okay, so for me, I started out, part of mine, I would say social media, but don't go look me up because I don't do great on there still. I'm trying to do.
Caitlin's blowing it up for you, by the way. I see that she's on here too.
Yeah, she's definitely a big help. But when I first started, I showed someone 3 farms on 3 different weekends, and I would take pictures each time, like out looking at an awesome farm. And then people started contacting me about farms, and that's grown over time. So now I always go to farm auctions. There's going to be one this weekend local, and I just go meet everybody there. Most of the time, it's some nosy people, some people really looking for farms. And I just kind of keep sharing that story as I sell and look at farms. And this year, I think I've sold 6 farms, maybe more. I'm not sure. So I just that was one of the things I just kind of rolled with. It didn't really plan on that, but I own a farm, so too I post when I'm there. So people think I'm a farmer girl, and I do have the accent.
So Tiff, you definitely have the accent. So so I know the Columbus people are on here like, holy cow, we got 2 drastic different accents on here. So hold on, Tiffany, I want to pause because I want people to hear something different than just your value prop is farms. I hope that you heard, and if you didn't hear, I want to point out for you to hear, perception is reality. And that could be a unique value proposition in itself, because if you heard her, the very first thing she said was, I got to show some farms and I posted all the time about them. And so automatically perception was reality, and people thought that she was a farm girl. And indeed, whether she owns one or not, she really wasn't getting into real estate to be a farm girl. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tiffany, but the perception is reality. And if you can nail that, that will take you very far, because people, you can either tell your own story or other people will tell your story for you, and that can work on multiple levels. And why not tell a great story? And I'm not saying go and lie, but I'm saying perception is reality. And every time you're out doing something, think about that. And look what that's turned into: 6 closed farm deals for her this year because she posted about it when she very first got her license. That's a big deal.
Yeah. And after I started getting calls, or I'd run into people and they'd be like, I'm kind of looking for something, this and that. So I didn't realize that people saw me as a farm girl until people started asking me farm questions. So then I started going to farm auctions, and I would post that, there's an auction coming up. So I just kind of ran with it. So anything you do when you first start, post. And then you can go to auctions and different things. So go view homes. Now it may be hard because of COVID to view homes just for an agent without a client, but do stuff and then make your friends think you're busy and active in real estate, even when you're really not crazy busy. Because people think that I'm like a millionaire agent now, and I'm nowhere near that. But people will tell you that. So the more you post, people perception is definitely a reality.
I love that. And I know his camera's not on, so he's probably driving, but, and you don't have to unmute or anything, but Tommy is also on this call right now. And I think he's done a great job of that too. I mean, from the very first day he got his license, he has been posting. And honestly, that's what people's reality is in your sphere and in your database and in your friend base. Okay, Ross, take us home with that question and wrap up your unique value prop.
I'm going to be long-winded on like all of these.
I'm going to put a timer for you, three minutes, so we can have 10 minutes. I put it on the back
of my business card. Like I throw it out there and make it true, but I'm that agent that's going to hustle for you, not hustle you. That's something that I live by, because I hate the, oh, look at this, ooh, like the shiny real estate stereotypical, like just hard selling you on something. I truly believe that my value proposition is I bring so much value to the people in my niche that they pay my bills because I bring them so much value. And I tell my builders all the time, they're like, hey man, what do you think about this? And I'm like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. And they're like, why? I'm like, because that's not going to make you money. It's my job to make you money. And just them hearing that, they're like, well, crap. Okay. Yeah, you're right. You know, like, I got into this business. I actually worked construction doing $10, $15 an hour jobs and stuff like that. I know the construction process very well. But when I got into this business, I had a really good friend that was a builder, and everybody wants a really good friend that's a builder, but he wasn't actually a builder. He was a rehab contractor, basically, that could easily build houses. So I just started bringing him clients and teaching him, like just giving him cracks at doing custom builds, to where he got really comfortable with doing custom builds. He started doing some spec builds. He started doing more stuff. And then he actually took me under his wing, started teaching me how he prices things, how his process goes, what he does, and like all of that just because he got to the point where he didn't have enough time to do it, he taught me how to do it. And so now I know how to do it. And then I bring that value with me to other people, because like I picked up another builder at the beginning of this year. He built like 2 or 3 houses a year for the past like 3-4 years. We have 12 projects going right now because I know the system, I know how it works, and I know how to bid plans. I know how to price things. I know how to do all of that stuff. And so the fact that we have 12 builds going on right now, all of them are sold. They're all custom builds that I've brought to him. So like, just no one else could ever steal one of the builders from me, even if they started charging 1%. I charge almost a full commission on most deals that we do, but that's because we provide so much value that when I'm bringing you a client, a floor plan, the specs that you want, and a price that they've agreed on, which is your price, and then I'm handing them to you and saying, hey, you want to make some money? Like, they're going to be like, all right, cool. I don't care how much he's charging. Like, they already know that they're going to make money doing business with me. So, I mean, and I used to do it with investors with flip properties and stuff like that too, but foreclosures are just so minuscule on the market right now that everyone's overpaying for them. So it's kind of hard to do. So I just switched from foreclosures to new construction, and we've done really well with it. I mean, new construction's kind of just taken off, and we didn't expect it to be that way. But it took off a little bit before COVID and all of that stuff too. So it's just kind of doubled down, and that's just bringing the value to them, and they pay my bills in return for it.
I'm glad that you said that, because I will say, I also got started in new construction. Some of you know that. And I think there's a perception that it's really hard to rep a builder. And let me just pause and say, new construction is very time consuming. It can be very, 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 very time consuming, and it can be a very great thing because it's a stream of steadiness. And it's different, and not a lot of people will do it. And the thing that I love about Ross that I want to just point out before we go to the last question is that when you got into the business, you were, you were making whatever $15 an hour, but you were working new construction, or you were familiar with that field. So you took something that you were already familiar with, and then you continued to master it. And now I would say that that's probably your largest unique value prop, is your knowledge of new construction. And anybody that's ever taken one of your new construction classes that you teach for us would say the same thing. And so I think they would. So think about maybe for those of you that, that's not your thing, think about what is. And if you're trying to decide, okay, what can be my unique value proposition, or maybe I've been in the business for a few years now and I need to redefine what the value proposition looks like for me. Or, hey, pull a Bridget. And if you don't know, go ask some people that have worked with you regularly, because they'll tell you. But let's be honest, there are thousands, and in Columbus, there are lots of thousands of other agents that are our direct competition every single day. And so we all are uniquely made one way or the other. And so you got to find what truly your value prop is to be able to stand out from everybody else. And go ahead, Ross.
I was going to say 100%, like, just because that's my niche and that's what we make good sales doing, doesn't mean that that's going to be your niche. Like, and don't go trying to bombard builders now and say Ross made 60 sales so far this year or something because, he's working with a builder. I do not go to the builders with my hand out saying, hey, you owe me leads or you owe me anything. Like, that's the one thing that I feel like is different for me is I'm not asking them for anything. I'm giving them stuff to where they have so much going on that they're like, can you just bid this for me? Can you just do this? And like, they're just giving it back to me, and they're willing to pay me the commission because I'm doing every bit of the work basically. And then they can just build houses.
Yeah.
So
love it. Great point. Great point. Okay. So in the last couple of minutes, I feel like we'd be remiss to not ask this question. How have each of you altered your business to operate differently during a pandemic? What have you done differently? Are you doing anything differently? Have you put any different systems in place to just operate in this new norm that we are in? And just anything that you could share that could bring value to anybody else would be awesome. And whoever wants to go first, go for it.
So I started out just checking in on my people when everything here kind of shut down around March. And I just started calling people. It was really easy to call past clients and just ask how they were doing and if they needed anything, just chatting. Everybody would tell me everything they've done to their house since they bought it. That's the only thing I've really changed, which it leads to more business. Usually once you're calling your people and talking to them, and I'm not asking for business, but just chatting with them, even it may be a week later, and then they call and say, hey, my friend is buying a house. Can you help her look for a house? So that's the main thing that I started. Then obviously Zooms and doing some more stuff online.
Yeah, I love that. And remember, I'll say the one thing Gary told us at the very beginning of this was how important care calls are, because he said the mind share that you take during a shift or during a pandemic will be the market share that you have in the future. And I truly believe that. So I'm glad that you said that. Okay, Bridget, do you want to go?
Exactly what Tiffany said. This forced me to really touch base with my people, and they were appreciative. And that's, we're constantly connecting with them, and this has really given me an opportunity to do all these other trainings like we were talking about before, and my the first week the pandemic hit, when Ohio shut down, I had people calling me that had to move back to Canada and needed me to list. And let me tell you how that conversation went. I was honest with them. I'm like, I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't have a crystal ball, but I was completely honest with them. And we worked together. We got them sold. We got them in contract, got them moved out. But I think I haven't really done anything newer, but connecting really more with my clients for the most part.
Yep. Okay, perfect. I think we'll probably hear that kind of from everybody. Yeah. Ross, do you want to go next?
What was the question?
Anything you've done different during the pandemic, or anything that you've had to change because of the pandemic?
I picked up the world's best assistant, hands down. I was
waiting for that at some point in time.
I picked up the yin to my yang, like God's gift to me, basically. We are almost the same person, but like perfectly not the same person. honestly, she started with me like at the beginning of the year. So it was kind of as soon as COVID stuff was kind of starting and all of that. So we were really able to hit our 30, 60, 90 in that window where it was kind of like not quite as much going on. People aren't looking at as many houses, and it gave us a great opportunity to really dive in, get her into all of the day-to-day stuff that she needed. But also she was able to install some systems and some stuff like that, like just some, like she handles most of our custom build selection process now. She was able to like just really dig in and not get overwhelmed right off the bat.
Hey Ross, I know people are gonna want to ask this question, so I'm gonna throw it out there. Tell everybody, like, how did you find Sarah?
I prayed. No.
Besides that.
I actually found Sarah on Indeed. She found me.
Right.
And
actually, I remember when you sent me all of her stuff and we talked about her in our next conversation.
I'll hire her if you don't.
Actually, I said, I need you to let me know if you're going to hire her, because if you're not going to hire her, I am going to hire her.
Yeah.
She was the perfect fit for you. I totally agree.
100%. And I mean,
well, you made the commitment. And you needed to, right? Because we all get to a point where you can, if you don't make those commitments to grow, then what do? You start to go backwards. And Ross, I don't think you would care if I share this, but Ross was at a point where he couldn't handle everything that he had. He's only one person. And at some point you've either been there or you're going to be there. And so to know when you need to leverage and actually making the commitment to do that is really a brave and strategic and genius thing. Because if you don't, then you can go backwards for sure. So, yep.
And we're pretty much at that point now again, to where we're having growing pains. Like we're ready to bring on our next person and just kind of welcome them into our family. And it's going to be right about winter time when things tend to slow down just a little bit.
It'll be perfect timing. Remember what Gary always says too. Gary Keller always says, if you're not a systems person, don't lose momentum trying to become that. Go hire somebody who is and let them build the systems for you. And that's one of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten, because I am not, most Rainmaker profiles are not going to be that personality, just FYI. Okay, we have like 1 minute, and I actually have to be on a panel for KWRI at 4, so I have a hard stop. So Jennifer, anything you've implemented different during the pandemic for your business?
Honestly, not really. I haven't altered it much. I had to work harder and become a lot more intentional to find time to dedicate to my business, because babysitters, there are no more babysitters.
Well, that's something you've implemented. I mean, being more intentional with your time block is a big deal.
Right. And then the other thing I would just say is something that Dawn Finch said when you had interviewed her in our last office meeting, was that she hadn't watched the news in years and just continues to do what she needs to do. And I can really relate to that, because I've made it a habit not to pay attention to the news in an effort to remove, negativity and remove distractions to keep me working towards my goals. And I know there's a lot of agents who just threw their hands up at the beginning of the pandemic and threw in the towel thinking they weren't going to sell houses this year. And then it's ended up being a record year for a lot of people. So I think that's just a really great example that we always just need to continue to work, push through without the distractions and, outside opinions.
Yep, totally agree. Totally agree. I think that is a great note to end on. Well, it is 4 p.m. So we actually got all of our questions answered, and that was perfect. So thank you guys so much. Congratulations, Jennifer, Ross, Bridget, Tiffany. I'm really proud of you guys. I love being in business with y'all. And I hope that you got some good nuggets today. I know every time I do this, I get nuggets too. So thank you all so much, and have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See ya.